Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. Got such a good show for you today. Great guests. We just heard Lila Forde's flawless four-chair turn performance of Can't Find My Way Home on the Voice Blind Auditions. If you've listened to the show for a while, you know that we have been talking to artists from The Voice since season 16. So for quite a while, we're in season 24 now. And I was going to tell you a little bit about The Voice. If you don't know what The Voice is, or if you haven't watched it, you've got to check it out. It's on NBC. It's a 4-time Emmy Award-winning musical competition series. The Voice returns season 24 with the queen of country, Reba McEntire, and she claims her red chair right alongside last season's champ, Niall Horan, and returning superstars and coaches John Legend and Gwen Stefani as they vie to discover and coach the next singing phenomenon. Spoiler alert, we've got her on the show today. The show's innovative format features 5 stages of competition, which I want to actually get into a little bit today with my guest: blind auditions, battle rounds, the knockouts, playoffs, and live performance shows. This season, the block returns to the blind auditions. And let me start that over. The block. What is that? Is that correct? Is that a term? I wonder if my spell check got me.
The block? Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't either. It must be The Voice. I don't know. Weird. Okay. This season, The Voice returns to the blind auditions, and during battles, each coach will have 2 steals to use. The 3-way knockouts are also back. This time, however, artists will select their own songs to perform. I love that. And once the live performance show begins, the top artists will compete against each other weekly during a live broadcast. This time, the audience, the television audience, you, the listeners, will vote to save your favorite artists. And in the end, only one artist will be named The Voice and receive the grand prize of a recording contract. Watch The Voice on Mondays and Tuesdays, 8, 7 Central on NBC, and streaming the next day on Peacock. That's typically how I see it. I want to welcome my special guest, Lila Forde. Hi, Lila.
Hi, Jeremiah. Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you, and congratulations on that 4-chair turn. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I loved your comment when everybody turned around and what did you say? You had to, your heartbeat was,
Yeah, my heart rate was through the roof.
oh my God. I would, if that was me, and I can't sing, so it wouldn't be me, but I would never be in that position. But I would have, when everybody starts turning, I think I probably would have stopped singing and just smiled and been so happy. Is it hard to perform through chair
Yeah,
turns?
that was the hard part, was that everybody all day long kind of prepares you. Well, not, it's like you're working up to hopefully getting a chair turn. You know what I mean? Like you're
Right.
just everybody's just grateful. Like, everybody's just like, oh, the producers, go sing your heart out. If they're gonna turn, they're gonna turn. Nobody prepares you for, if they do turn, make sure you keep singing the song. Don't freak out. And I thought I was nervous all day, waiting, not knowing when I was gonna go, walking up on that stage, thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna have like a little bit of time to just sit down, settle into the song, no problem. That did not happen. I sat down and Gwen Stefani turned so quickly that I had this a whole other surge of adrenaline immediately. And so I'm like, okay, just keep singing, just keep singing, just keep going. Don't mess up the words. Don't stop. Don't freak out. Don't start crying. And then like they were all turning around. So it was as though I was, I wasn't performing to their backs. I was performing to their faces, which nobody had prepared me for that. So that was pretty wild.
That is wild, because that song and the way that you did the song, and I think now that I've listened to more of your music and your album, like as I told you all day today, but before the show. But that song in particular and the vocal uh, exercises, the discipline, there's a lot of technique. It sounds to me, it sounds like in that song and in your vocals, and to have something like that, these superstars, these people you've grown up with and admired, start turning, and oh, okay, now I've got my turn, and then you get another one and another one, and to still maintain that composure and most importantly, that amazing performance must have just been very, very, very hard. I just couldn't imagine being you
It
doing that.
was hard, I think I'm really grateful for, I've been a gigging musician in LA for the past 2 years, I guess, since I graduated from the music school at USC in 2021. So yeah, 2 years. So I've clocked a lot of hours performing. Like it's what I do for my full-time job. And I think because of that, it's like working out every day, pretty much. It's like I'm singing 4 to 6 times a week for 4 hours a pop, and so I have a lot of practice performing. And some people, when they get up on that stage, it's like their first big gig. They're from rural Arkansas or whatever, and they've never really like performed before, and so it's even harder to go up there and withstand the nerves and everything. But I think because I've had so much practice performing, even though I was like losing my mind on the inside, I was able to just keep going and
Focus.
execute.
Yeah. Boy, did you execute.
Thank
So
you.
you mentioned a couple things. I was going to go through your bio, but at the top here, but I thought I'd rather just kind of talk through
Yeah,
your bio
please
with
do.
you a little bit. But you mentioned, well, there's three things I want to go back to. Number one, no one tells you at the Voice what to expect when the chair turns. You just said, right? But they do. But you're thinking about, hopefully I get one chair to turn, but no one, there's no, so there's that pressure and that anxiety of like, what if nobody turns, right? And then there's uh then when they do turn, that's a whole different level of anxiety that's just happened in the shock to your body.
Totally. Yeah,
uh,
it's like you've sold them enough to turn around, but can you keep them? You know what I mean? Because if yeah, you can get them to turn around, but if you don't continue to execute that, they're already thinking, okay, where would this person fit on my team or whatever. So yeah, that was crazy.
Second thing, you said you went to USC. I went to the film school, right? So right next door to the music program there, right? So I love, I have, whenever I talk to a musician that went there, I always think I have such fond memories because I would sit out there, where I'm talking about, in that little courtyard there, and musicians would be playing out under the trees, and I'd sit there and
Oh,
listen to the music.
yeah.
It was so beautiful that to be in that area, I think, of the campus.
That's so cool. Yeah, the film school is really gorgeous. I remember always being kind of envious of the film buildings.
I was envious of you and your
Wow, look at
building.
that.
Now, did you study, like, tell me how what your studies comprised of? Was it a lot of jazz? Because
Yeah,
seems
it
like you're
was
a really
jazz.
big fan of jazz.
Yeah, I studied jazz in college. So, jazz voice specifically, but it was a jazz degree. My degree specifically is jazz studies. So I was taking piano lessons and composition lessons and theory classes and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'm not trying to be a jazz singer. I'm not trying to be like a modern jazz singer at all. In fact, but studying jazz, I believe, makes you the highest level of musician that you can possibly be because it's such a complicated
Mhm.
form of music, form of art. And it gave me such incredible tools in terms of improvisation, composition, harmony, theory, all these things. And it really set me up to be able to hit the ground running once I graduated. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to make money? But with that background, things just, and you meet people, things just kind of fall into place, and then all of a sudden you're just doing it. So I'm really grateful to my jazz education for um the voice that I have, not my literal voice, but my like proverbial voice. You know what I mean? I feel like the jazz education really contributed to that.
What do you think? You know, you say it contributed the studies and the vocal practice in jazz. What do you borrow from the most, do you think, in from jazz? Or if you don't know that, you know, the answer to that question, what do you call on within yourself as a music artist that you think makes you and your sound, your music and your art different and uniquely you? Is there
Yeah, I
pinpoint?
think, well, specifically from jazz, do you mean?
Yeah, or if it's not jazz, but there's just something that you call on that you go, these are my, you know, the arrows in my pack or whatever. This is
Yeah.
what I call up. This is what makes my voice, my sound, me. You know, something that you're aware of within
Yeah,
yourself.
totally. I think it is my musicianship because everybody on this show, as you've seen, there's so many unbelievable singers, unbelievable singers. But I think what I have that's different, that gives me an edge, is that I'm a musician. And I'm not just a musician that, can like play an instrument or something like that, but I really think my background in music, in many different types of music, and growing up in choir, having a mom who's a classical pianist, going to jazz school, has all has given me a palette that I bring together to create my own sound. But I think the improvisatory part of jazz and under the understanding of harmony, that those parts of jazz I think have really contributed to my voice and what makes me unique, and I think what will make me stand out on this show.
You perform and you gig a lot. I mean, I know you had a tour last year, right? How was that, by the way, your first
Oh
tour?
my
The
goodness, it was
UK?
amazing. It was exhausting. We did 20 shows in 28 days all across Europe. So it was exhausting, but it was incredible. The person I was there with, I was opening up for her and I was also playing in her band. So I was working a lot. I was working a lot, but I was down. Like I said, sort of like I mentioned before, getting reps in playing gigs and just getting a ton of repetition under your belt. That's kind of what that tour felt like for me too. I was like playing 20 shows in 28 days. This is like what rock stars have been doing for years and years and years. And yes, I wasn't playing stadiums, but it was a really magical experience because we were kind of playing music in the way that traditionally it's been played. Like it felt like we were traveling troubadours, and like we would go and maybe we would play in this pub, and the pub in this small town in Germany would be packed with all the townspeople, and then afterwards we would stay in the apartment above the pub, and the owner of the pub would make us homemade dinner, and we would like have dinner with him and his family after the show. So it felt like a really special way of getting to know not only just the countries we were in, but the people and the traditions of music that have been there for years and years and years. So it felt like connecting to a deep part of like my, not my past specifically, but the path that has been paved for me by hundreds and hundreds of people and brought me to where I am now. So it was a really special experience.
I was thinking about that a lot today. I'm glad you put it that way. I think that is a very accurate way of putting that, almost traveling troubadours and, you know, going to pubs and playing smaller venues. I was thinking about it because one of our friends of the show is Louise Goffin, you know, that's Carole King's daughter, and
Oh, wow.
she's an amazing artist herself. And she went out, you know, she can play big. She's played with all the greats and the big, you know, James Taylor and all these great musicians. And she decided to do a small pub tour in Scotland and Ireland this summer. And I
Wow.
just thought that was so cool. And then more and more I hear that artists are gigging in small clubs and small venues, big names. And you know, for instance, here in Santa Barbara, there's a music bar called Red Piano. And I noticed that, you know, Jeff Skunk Baxter from the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan is playing, and it's a small little venue. Kenny Loggins is playing, I think, this week. And you know, I noticed that musicians are out there doing this, and I wonder if it's a result of being locked, not being able to perform in front of audiences, and then, you know, through COVID, and then now being able to again. And I wonder if it's just like it's a better way to connect with
Absolutely.
their audience again. You know what I mean? Almost like getting back to the roots. And then the last part of this, and this is the question for you, is that I hear a lot from artists that are up and coming, and they say to me, you can't make it in the music business, so I'm just not even gonna. I don't think I can make it. I can't make enough living. I can't make a living. I can't make enough money. And I see time and time again artists like you that just go out there and do it. And my question for you, and they play and they perform and they gig it. Maybe there's 20 people listening, maybe there's one or two in a lounge, you know, but you're doing it and you're doing what you love, which is probably the most important thing. So my question is, can you make a living, do you think, doing it the way you're doing it? And if you only could do it the way that you're doing it right now, this is the only path that ever opened to you, would you still follow it?
100%. Absolutely. No doubt. No doubt in my mind. And you absolutely can do it. To anybody who's listening right now who is maybe having doubts or fears about following this dream, you 100% can do it. The roof over my head right now is paid for by my musicianship and my gigs, solely, nothing else. I think the common misconception that people have is that it's either you work as a dishwasher or you're a superstar. But that's not the case. It's not like one world or straight shot to fame. There's something in between, and that's what I do. Obviously, I'm being on this show is offering me an opportunity to do something more, but there's the salt of the earth gigs that everyday people play all the time. Like, you've ever walked into a hotel lobby or a bar or a lounge or whatever it is, there's musicians playing there. Those people, they're playing, they're getting paid. They're, you know, it's like, you can do it. There's tons of other things you can do. You can work as a session musician. You can teach, you can do tons of things. Like, it's scary, obviously, because work can be few and far between. You know, like in the months of January and February, things get really slow because everybody's blown their budget on Christmas and New Year's. So gigs get really slow. But for the rest of the year, there's so much work. And the question you asked, if this was the only path that opened up to me, 100%, 100%. There's nothing else I could possibly do. And if I was playing in hotel lounges for the rest of my life, I would be satisfied because I can play whatever I want. And for me, it's really about the music. It's not, obviously I want to be like recognized for my gift, and I would like a platform to share my gift with the world and with the country and with whomever I think will receive it. And I do think I have something really special to offer, but it's not about fame. It's not about clout. It's about, for me, it's like always, and I hope always remains, really, really about the music. So this show is offering me a platform to, you know, expand my reach. Mm-hmm. But if this weren't the case, if this opportunity hadn't fallen into my lap, then 100%, I would just still be doing my same thing and figure out other ways to kind of make my life satisfactory or gratifying and fulfilling.
Yeah, well said. I think that so many of us fall into like, well, if it's not a huge success tomorrow, and I can't make I'm not up there and I'm not making millions of dollars, and the dream of whatever your dream may be, they give up. But wouldn't that be harder to give up on that dream if you were truly a musician or an artist in your heart and in every fiber of your being, to do a 9 to 5 and just say, well, just because I got to go the safe route would be just, I think, so hard every single day.
It would be much harder than maybe scraping by to pay rent. In my opinion, I would much rather have the high risk, high reward and of knowing I'm doing something I love rather than taking the safe route and feeling unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's come back. There's more. You're from Seattle, and I want to talk about that. And your upbringing is just pretty amazing.
Yeah,
And
cool.
yeah, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna take it a break with August Rain. I love that title because it brings up, it's poetic in my mind.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have anything you want to say about the song to set it up, or?
This song, this song I wrote about a conflict with a friend. That's all I'll tell you. But August Rain was always when I was going back to school, when I was leaving home and I was going back to college. So it was like the August, the turning
Mhm.
of the seasons. So that's all I'll say.
Okay. And I like that because I hesitate to ask you to describe the song because I think everybody hears it their own way, right? You don't want to give away too much and then ruin it for somebody. My special guest today, Lila Forde. I'm not going to tell you, I hope I haven't already slipped and told you what team she's on. We're going to tease you to the end. We're going to talk about that at the last segment. She's on NBC's The Voice season 24. I was looking today on YouTube at Lila Forde. Here's the title: Lila Forde performs Blind Face Can't Find My Way Home during the Voice blind auditions. So I look at it first at about 6 a.m. and it's 989,888 views, right? I go back about 2 hours later, it's at 990,000 views.
Okay.
In like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So let's get you up to over 1 million today.
Let's do it.
Go
Come
check it
on.
out. Lila Forde on The Voice performs Blind Faith Can't Find My Way Home. NBC's The Voice season 24 follows the strongest vocalists from across the country and invites them to compete in this season's blockbuster vocal competition. Reba McEntire, John Legend, Gwen Stefani, Niall Horan. Watch The Voice Monday and Tuesdays at 8/7 Central on NBC, and streaming the very next day on Peacock is where I watch it. Doesn't matter where you watch it, just watch. Get the Voice official app and The Voice on social, on Facebook, on X, The Voice on Instagram. And you can find Voice trailers, full episodes, highlights, previews, promos, clips, and exclusives on NBC on social, on YouTube, X, Facebook, and Instagram. Find Lila Forde, the EP, or her last EP that's out there right now that I spent so much time with this morning. You're going to want to do that as well. It goes great with a cup of coffee, waking up, beautiful sunshine day. It's called In Another Life. All I Expected is the new single. We're going to play it at the end in its entirety. LilaForde.com. You can follow her, find her, everything right there. We'll be right back. Okay. Let me stop